Odnawialne źródła energii to młoda, ale jedna z najprężniej rozwijających się gałęzi gospodarki. Moduły fotowoltaiczne instalowane są codziennie nie tylko na dachach tysięcy domów jednorodzinnych, ale też mogą zostać bezpośrednio zintegrowane z budynkiem, tworząc na przykład jego fasadę. Jednym z pionierów w tej branży na polskim rynku jest firma ML System z Zaczernia koło Rzeszowa.
PGE, Polska Grupa Energetyczna, to lider transformacji energetycznej w Polsce, największy producent energii ze źródeł odnawialnych i wiodąca firma w budowie morskich farm wiatrowych. PGE to także strażnik bezpieczeństwa energetycznego Polski. Grupa PGE zapewnia pracę ponad 40 000 osób. Wartość społeczna, która nie ma wymiaru ilościowego, to nieprzerwane i bezpieczne dostawy energii elektrycznej i ciepła. PGE jako lider wytwarzania energii elektrycznej i cieplnej, dystrybucji energii i obrotu ma znaczący wpływ na procesy gospodarcze zachodzące w Polsce oraz na jakość i koszt życia obywateli. Dlatego grupa PGE nieustannie inwestuje w najefektywniejsze technologie, aby gospodarstwa domowe i firmy miały jak najtańszą energię. Transformujemy polską energetykę, minimalizując jej wpływ na środowisko naturalne.
Serdecznie zapraszamy Państwa do współpracy. Zespół ekspertów Instytutu Polityki Energetycznej imienia Ignacego Łukasiewicza składa się z naukowców uczelni wyższych, ale także z praktyków, którzy realizowali wiele projektów krajowych oraz międzynarodowych. Przygotowujemy analizy, raporty, jesteśmy w stanie przygotować studium wykonalności, a także analizę legislacyjną na potrzeby klienta. Jesteśmy w stanie również przygotować szkolenia dotyczące aspektów energetycznych oraz prognozy ekonomiczne. Serdecznie zapraszamy do współpracy.
I'm Dr. Anna Bałamut, and I have today the opportunity to lead the panel about the nuclear energy. So, please, students, I think the best way would be if you present who you are and from which kind of university. And after it, we go to the presentation. So, please, first presentation, and we can.
Welcome, my name is Adin. I am student of Polityki. I want to present a presentation about power plant energy infrastructure in the context of hostility strategies and global integration at the starting of the war in Ukraine.
Okay, so maybe Anya, go and start the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Please, on the slide. Next slide, this is the introduction. Nuclear power plants, once linked mainly to disasters like Chernobyl and Fukushima, have gained strategic importance in conflicts. Recent events in Ukraine show how nuclear infrastructure is used for international leverage and strategic aims. This presentation examines how the role of nuclear power plants is evolving and its impact on global geopolitics. Please, okay, this is please slide. Chapter 1, impact of war in Ukraine on nuclear power plants in Chernobyl and Zaporozhye. Please, thank you. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant, famous for the 1986 disaster, became a strategic target early in 2020. Thank you. Early to 2022 Russian invasion, Russian forces took control of the facility, detaining around 300 employees and forcing them to work under harsh conditions without rotation. While the immediate radiation threat remained confined to the exclusion zones, Russian activities such as digging trenches and moving heavy machinery and military equipment increased the risk of radiation exposure. Ukraine accused Russia of committing nuclear terrorism, highlighting the use of nuclear facilities as strategic assets during conflicts. Please, next. Chapter 2, the effects of the use of nuclear power plants as an element of military strategy and impact on international policy. Violation of international law by the Russian Federation during the conflict in Ukraine. United nation character. Russian breached Article 2, which prohibits the use of force against the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the other states, and Article 51, which allows for self-defense only. Other break law, UN General Assembly resolution, Russian invasion and attacks constitute aggression under international law. Geneva Convention 1949 and additional protocols. Russia violated provision protecting civilians and infrastructure, including nuclear power plants, which are safeguarded even in a conflict. Please, next slide. Thank you. Humanitarian law. Actions involving nuclear facilities breach principles protecting civilians, objects, and ensuring international security. IAEA state use. Russian use of nuclear plants in Ukraine undermines rules of the protection of nuclear facilities and their personnel threatening radiological safety and public health. Principles of international law on armed conflicts. Using nuclear power plants as military targets, there is special protection under wartime legal norms. Please, next slide. Okay, thank you. Forms. Please go. Okay. The strategies for next back. This is back. Yes. Enough challenges for international relations theory is based on the war in Ukraine and the rise in the Ukraine conflict. The war in Ukraine reinforces the realist perspective, emphasizing power and national interest in an anarchic international system. Russia's actions highlight state sovereignty and limitation of international organization in preventing aggression. Nuclear blackmail. Russia uses nuclear threats and occupation and facilities such as the Zaporizhzhia and the Chernobyl power plants as a leverage in the military strategy, demonstrating the potential of such actions to create new forms of military blackmail in the future. Challenges to liberalism. The conflict reveals the fragility of the liberal international order as Russia disregards democratic value and the human rights. The limited response from Western nations expose the weakness of liberal principles. Total war and hybrid warfare. The aggression in Ukraine reveals tactics targeting civilians and infrastructure, contrary to liberal ideals of minimizing violence, and also in progress new forms of warfare, including cyber attacks, disinformation, and economic correction using traditional and modern techniques. Next slide, please. Form of using nuclear power plants, the aspect of hostilities. Nuclear blackmail. The aggressor made threatened release of radioactive materials to force political or military concession. A conflict denier by using the threat of radiation release, the aggression can force opponents to change strategy using the plants as a hostage to slow down military actions. A description of energy supply. Controlling the nuclear power plant allows the aggressor to disrupt electricity supplies, paralyzing key economic sectors and weakening defenses. Disinformation and propaganda. The takeover can be used to spread false information, causing panic and influencing public opinion both domestically and internationally. Seizing technology. The aggressor may aim to acquire nuclear technology and know-how for weapon development. Environmental pollution. Mismanagement of deliberate damage could cause radioactive leaks, contaminating and the environment and affecting public health. A military base and weapon storage. The site can be used as a military base or for storing weapons, deterring attacks of the nuclear threats. Nuclear terrorism. Using the plant to threaten to release radioactive materials can create fear, chaos, and political destabilization. Please, next slide. Strategies for protecting nuclear power plants for military and political exploitation. Strengthening international legal frameworks, establishing a ban on attacks against nuclear facilities, and creating new international arguments for the protection. Creation of demilitarized zones, negotiating and enforcing security of the safety of nuclear facilities in the conflict zones, which a rapid response to threats. Imposing sanctions and diplomatic isolation, imposing strict sanctions on the states that violate nuclear facility protection rules and isolating them and in international forums. And changing technical security measures. Improving the physical security of nuclear power plants and developing technologies for a remote turn-off and securing of facilities. Raising public awareness. Conducting educational and informational campaigns on the risk associated with the militarization of nuclear power plants and mobilizing public opinion to support protective measures. The presentation explored the strategies of nuclear power plants in the military and political context with a focus on the Ukraine conflict. The war underscored the dangers of military nuclear facilities as they are increasingly leveraged for strategies and political ends. The cases of Chernobyl and Zaporizhzhia illustrates how these plants face direct threats during conflicts, ensuring both regional and global security. Thank you very much.
Welcome everyone, my name is Arthur. I'm studying in Rzeszów Polityki, Polityka Rzeszowska imienia Łukasiewicza. My referral is security of nuclear power plants in terms of terrorist and war. Next slide. Entry. Since the launch of the first nuclear power plants in 1954, The people have conquest about their safety and safety for accident or specifically attacks from military. Okay, next slide, please. The largest nuclear power plant accident. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant accident is conducive to large and most tragic incident of this kind in terms of conquests. This event is raised when discussion to safety or of nuclear power plants. The RPKM 1000 reactor is still used today. About each unity of type has been modernization. Much safety this also is AP 1000 reactor are alleviated in from of generation 3 reactors. We will focus on this in our discussion. The reactor RPKM 100 is a reactor who's gets some troubles with kinetic attacks when we shoot to the generation to the reactor. I'm sorry. Probably they oh, sorry. The RPKM reactor 1000 lacks safety inclusions, marking in more susceptible to military and terrorist attack. Despite modernization, its construction does not meet combined construction and operating license standards. As in remain optional, there is a due risk of widespread radioactive contamination in the event of terrorist attacks involving Egypt aircrafts. Next slide, please. I'm sorry. Yes, and the next one. Thank you. Pre-generation reactors. Reactor AP100 is have automatic pressure detector system in the primary circuit, which allows for floating the core water in emergency situation and prevents the reactor views from rotating. The AP100 also have safety enclosures consistent of steel shelter and concrete coating, which provides high resistance to potential kinetic attacks. Next slide, please. Nuclear. I'm sorry. Next slide. The terrorist threats. I'm really sorry, but something is wrong about my presentations. Okay. Terrorist threats. Protecting against access by non-authorized persons. Each nuclear plant is equipped with, among other things, physical barriers and concrete and steel reactor building, fences, electronic sensors, checkpoint, monitoring posts, and security. In addition, nuclear power plants have classified military security measures that aid its fair operation. This makes it practically impossible to reach sensitive equipment, so as cooling system, backup generators, control device, and reactors. Next slide, please. Terrorist threats, organization attacks. Currently, no terrorist organization possesses the technology and materials necessary to completely destroy a nuclear power plant and release radioactive material on this same scale compatibility into Chernobyl. Modern nuclear plants are designed to withstand a direct impact from aircraft such as Boeing 767 or Airbus R380 and supersonic jet. The reach was carried on 1988. The American Research Central India National Laboratories of Japanese company Muto Institute of Solution Mechanics makes an experiment. They speed up a F4 Phantom and try to break a concrete wall like in power plants. This experiment see the people's power plants is safety, and the planes even sorry, next slide please. Okay. Terrorist threats, hacker attack, control and management system with a nuclear power plant are not directly connected to the global network. Efficiently prevent remote attacks. Will there is a territorial possibility of injecting IT systems through external media? Science security measures in are place. These include compression control measures, regions employees training, robust IT infrastructure, and security software for dating infrastructure device. Those measures ensure that threats remaining functionally theoretical. Next slide, please. Terrorist threats. International Atomic Energy Agency regulation require verificate of new employees to issue they are mentally and physically healthy. It is also important to verify that they have no ties to terrorist groups or forging intelligence. So such actions are also current on systematically fraud. The employees personnel and training on how to act during variations serious including terrorist attacks. To date, in the almost 60 years history of nuclear energy, there has been no successful terrorist attack on power plant. Next, please. Potential protection against war. Next slide, please. Military threats, accidental hit. This postmodern solution on the battlefield situation were due to error. Civilian buildings of every hospital are sheltered. In accidental hit of nuclear weapon plant were to code in the worst case scenario, it would necessary to shut down of the reactor. According to the United States Department of Energy, assistant artillery or air strikes do not pose of danger to the reactor's containment breach. Next step, please. Deliberate attacks. The American Army possesses the GBU-57, a bunker-busting missile capable of completely destroying a nuclear generator. It is probably that was probably 2,000 nuclear power plants, as its strategy and tactical pointless. So the war in Ukraine has demonstrated nuclear power plants can function as logical hubs and service a foundation for political negotiation. Regrettably, this conference has revealed to potential form for political blackmail. Next slide, please. Cutting off from the power grid. The simplest way to force a reactor shutdown is likely to disconnect the entire power plant from the power grid. This will cause the power generators on site to activity to management reactor cooling. Then the nuclear power plant staff must invite the reactor shutdown process. While it may sound storage to average person, nuclear power plants are not selfish in terms of energy. Next slide, please. Conclusions. Nuclear power plants containing generation 3 reactors are designed to prevent unauthorized individuals from using them as a weapon of mass destruction. The construction of reactor shields is a renewable energy due to their resistance to exposed charge and kinetic attacks. The personnel is the facility are training for nearly end scenario, even the most extreme. For security reasons, many of the things are classified to enhancement the security for sorry. Every time 100 reactors are more valuable due to lack of safety. It's a hope that no terrorist organization will be unable to acquire or destroying a nuclear fatality. Channel, a power accuracy is remaining the concentration and improve of threat when wood and nuclear power plants are not targeted by military attacks. Thank you.
Next person, please.
I would like to stand up actually and present it like that. Can you go on the slide there? Yes, thank you. So, pan-European energy initiatives and their implementation incoming black death as a threat for the energy renaissance. So, I would like to start with the statement of really notorious historian and materialist David Herlihy, who in his book, The Black Death and the Transformation of Western Civilization, once said, had a statement that the Black Death actually liberated the new. Yes. So please next slide. And this narrative will be covered through all this presentation. What actually meaning that. Yes. So there are several pan-European initiatives. Yes, and one of them is already adopted. Is Commission Delegated Regulation. It consists of the thing that countries of European Union, they agreed on a stance that nuclear energy, yes, and two-cycled gas production will be included in the green taxonomy, yes, and it breaks kind of this breakthrough moment, yes, that actually leading to two other things, yes, the industrial alliance, yes, within the European Union right now, and this large actually proposal that still under the consideration of the European Council and the European Parliament. So what about the proposal? It's actually proposed that nuclear energy, yes, it will be not just a transitory scene as a bridge between the our achievement in 2040 and 2050 as a zero carbonization, yes, and so on, but actually one of the pillars of the future Green Deal, yes, and it's kind of its modification, yes, and this proposal actually, why it's has this pan-European nature, it comes within the European Union, yes, from numerous and several of states, yes, and of course it bears some problems, but it gives certain hope that nuclear energy will be soon or later on our future actually one of the most the cornerstone of our energy sovereignty as the main goal. Yes, industrial alliance within the Europe is about the developing and construction of small modular reactors for its generation. It was one of the inclusions in the Commission delegated regulation that was adopted, because there is certain criticism of nuclear energy in a way that it can be possible to be one of the pillars if it will be continuously developed under this framework of the fourth generation nuclear power plants. Yes, because of the problem of waste management, because of the problem of safety, and some kind of logistical problems like costs and time management. Yes. So next slide. And there is a certain question, yes, regarding the energy renaissance, just because it lacks nuclear energy renaissance, because it lacks kind of a terminology, the basis, yes. And there is the one of big question: is nuclear energy renaissance exclusively European phenomenon? And my answer to this question is absolutely yes, because since Chernobyl tragedy in 1986, 241 new nuclear reactors were opened. Yes, and there is the thing that most of them coming from other countries, yes, besides France as a part of the European Union and kind of this magnificent player on the nuclear energy arena, yes, because it don't want to take off from the competition and be one of the leading states, yes. Actually, only 2-3 countries were gain some kind of regulations and abandoning nuclear energy, yes, because from the 1986, yes, there were closed 120 nuclear power plants, and most of them were from Italy, that abandoned them in 1990 from the referendum. Germany, that actually closed the last power plant in 2023, and Great Britain, who also were closing the nuclear power plants. And most of them, except Germany, yes, were closed just because of their retirement, actually, age, yes, because most of them were created in 1950, 1960, 1970, and already were too old for that time. And I would also point one thing, that Fukushima accident not contributed, even we take the regional scope, continental scope, not contributed in anything to the Asia, because still the South Korea, China, also India as one of the new players, United Arab Emirates also, they are opening their the power plant. Actually, they're continuing to develop the nuclear power plants, and China actually wants to implement 30 more. So, please, next slide. And pointing out the China experience, yes, that actually China, of course, they have 65% of the total capacity of wind produced power in the world. Yes, they are most beneficial in this sense, and they actually implementing this framework of energy mix of both the renewable sources and nuclear energy, and they stand off from the fossil fuels, as can be seen from their trajectory and what the proposal they had in the United Nations in 2023 to actually help the countries of global south, so the geopolitical potential, to implement their experience and produce their renewable sources within these countries. Yes, and it's kind of making certain a threat to the European Union in first glance. Yes, because we are also one of the biggest beneficiaries to the developing countries in the sort of the developing the technologies of the renewable sources. But still, we are gaining certain idea that maybe it is the framework of the future. Next slide. And about Pan-European Industrial Alliance a bit more, yes, this is a concept of New World small modular reactor by France. It is only the conceptual design that actually has to produce 170 megawatts per hour, that actually 4 times lower than the average surge duration reactor. Yes, but of course there was already the meeting of companies, of politicians, of the scientists, yes, and so on, from the whole European Union and outside of it, to actually benefit the structure of the concept of industrial alliance. And from their actually timetable of what topics they discussed, actually, because they had assembly already in March, they were pointing out the significance of waste management, the significance of safety of the power plant, not even the strategy of how they will actually develop. So it is still under human minds that they have to admit that it actually will be safe, it actually will be will have any future in the scope of the European Union, as how it actually damaged the depiction through the Chernobyl tragedy. And of course they will aim to deploying the first small modular reactor by early 2030. And I have to point out that, next slide please, that there is certain actually threats because of the Russian Federation in 2 sides. Yes. First, actually coming not from Russian Federation but in the European Union, that we have to invest, have to make actually a scope of broad investments through these projects, because as I said, the only one conceptual design that the European Union right now has is from New World in France, and actually it is just a starting point. And through the conflict in Ukraine, this is Ahmedid hospital that was attacked on 8th July, and 40 people were killed, including the children mostly. There is another scope that from the Reuters statistics, 20 state power plants, not nuclear but hydrological or fossil fuel one, were damaged or destroyed through the Ukrainian conflict, yes, and it also affected the Ukrainian capabilities in the energy production. But there is certain hypothesis that actually the nuclear power plants are a more safe variant, just because it's another scaling of escalation. Yes, when the nuclear and the power plant is targeted, it's only not damages only one country. Yes, it damages all around. Yes, and Chernobyl actually power plant was not so powerful in this kind of a management of the distribution of radiation. Yes, because third generation of power plants are much more powerful in this sense. And U battery, it was a conceptual design of the small modular reactors from Great Britain. And it started in 2020 and it closed in 2023, just because it had not found the investment, it had not found the funds to continue to develop in it. And this is what I want to point out, that maybe small modular reactors, their capabilities, as I said, from New World design is around 170 megawatts per hour. For instance, the average third generation is 1,000, yes, and we have to deploy more of them, like if we want to actually change the old one and put the new one, and it correlates with our air defense systems. It correlates that we are capable to, if we are capable to defend them, yes, because already from the perspective of Ukraine, we see that it's not enough. Even what is donated, it's not enough, and the European Union starts in air defense systems. So next slide. This is cross-border electricity trading in July 2024. It's actually the imports exports. Yes, imports is negative number, and exports is with plus. I mean, without it. Yes, and it is actually the picture of today's Europe, not only on July, but 7 months ago and present. Even though Ukraine is in war, it imports less electricity to the country than Germany, Italy, and Great Britain. And of course, I mentioned the referendum on Italy and the closing of the nuclear power plants. Germany closed their power plant in 2023, yes, and they are focusing on Norway as their new ally in the gas cycle transportation of the production and electricity, yes. Great Britain also closed their power plants, even in unnecessary political decisions, yes. And as can be seen, that the only spectrum and the only initiative that actually can help in this situation to these kind of massive states is nuclear power plants. Next slide. And there is a certain geopolitical threats, because I mentioned that this moment of Black Death, yes, and actually, as through the old presentation, there were several mentionings of Russia and the war in Ukraine, yes? Because Russia not only goes inside the European Union, yes, and so on, but actually, by their energy doctrine, secures all the potentials, yes, to fall it from the podium, yes, as they are already like implementing certain strategies on the foundation for the nuclear power plants in Hungary and Slovakia, yes, but I have to mention the Turkey, because Turkey is one of the biggest states with import and exports of the trade with, for instance, Germany, yes, Czech Republic, yes, Italy, and so on. It is one of the major partners. And our deliverance to Turkey is our values, first of all, yes, because we want Turkey to more integrate into the process of the, not even the fostering the European integration, yes, and so on, but being capable and modernized country and the state. And with the Erdogan elections, yes, and the reshifting, yes, Russia tries to attempts to play on the Turkey, yes, to shift it from the European Union, and more as they constructing the Aul nuclear power plant, where 3,000 Russian services, yes, actually benefiting the construction of the Aul power plant, and the workers in this power plant from Turkey, yes, itself, benefiting the knowledge from it. And maybe the economical and energy strategies are much more capable in to develop the relations with Turkey rather than just the political initiatives. And this is a flag in the middle of Burkina Faso. It's actually not only the country that yeah. So yeah. So. I know, so I'm just 2 words and so on. Okay. And it threatens the nuclear energy potentials of the future and prosperity of this glorious project of the nuclear power plants, is because Burkina Faso secures all these western countries of the Africa, yes, where there's the greatest actually oil plantations of the for the nuclear energy. So this is it. And of course, the last question: maybe liberate our new future in this stance, because it consists in the mind of people and old politicians, especially in Germany or Italy, yes, that do not want to actually renovate the framework of the spectrum of what energy sovereignty of the European Union has to be right now. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Please.
Okay, hi, my name is Filary. I'm the student of Łukasiewicza University in Warsaw. And me and my colleague, we would like to talk about the public approval and, well, let's say, governmental stance on nuclear energy. So as we know, nuclear energy has been really in the center of the Europe since the very first days of the European Union, and for decades it has been viewed as a symbol of technological progress, of energy independence. However, the public and political support has started to wane after the two biggest catastrophes, let's say Chernobyl, Fukushima, in 1986 and 2011. That increased concerns regarding the environmental safety and human health. Yet today, in the reality that is characterized by the rising demands, by climate change and geopolitical tensions, Europe, let's say, looking for the game changer, which sets the stage for the renaissance of nuclear energy. So this map represents the nuclear share in the general power generation of each European country. So we can see that differences are still measured, and by far the biggest difference is probably between France and Germany, with France having 56 active nuclear reactors and well, generating 70% of its energy through nuclear power plants, while Germany has shut down, like took the path of the phase out and shut down its last reactors in April 2023. So the two next most reliant countries is Slovakia and Ukraine, with 53 and 51% respectively, while the least reliant countries is Austria and Italy. Austria, in 1978, the electorate decided to shut down a newly constructed power plant in Zwentry. And since then, later, after the referendum, it was just banned by simple law. While Italy has shut down its last reactors in 1990 because of the Chernobyl accident. So, okay, so this map represents the nuclear revival of the, let's say, of nuclear energy in the European countries. So basically, energy crisis coupled with the end of a reasonably priced supply of gas from Russia has prompted changes in the strategy and reduced the opposition to nuclear energy among publicity and government. So let me substantiate. For instance, Germany has delayed its phase out in 2022. Finland, the government has labeled nuclear energy as sustainable, and this green label allows to obtain easier financing for nuclear projects. In France, they plan to build 14 more nuclear reactors. UK also have the plans to build the Sizewell C nuclear reactor. And Eastern European countries, they plan to build at least 12 nuclear units, and all this clearly demonstrates changing attitudes even in the countries with renowned negative positions like Germany. Okay. So here, would like to, using the survey conducted in 2022, would like to look at the public approval ratings in different European countries. So we can see that differences are still in place, but they are gradually narrowing. Like the survey has demonstrated that Hungary by far has the highest number of people whose response was positive, with 68%. Following Hungary, there is France, obviously, Czech Republic, and Bulgaria. And interestingly, in Germany, the percentage of the opposition has dropped significantly, and now only 1/5 of the population represents previously the majority position. However, as we can see at the very end, so there are still countries that maintain their negative position, like Austria, Luxembourg, Portugal, but even in those countries with entrenched negative positions, there are some positive changes in the public opinion. Can we move to that? So here, this graph, it provides similar information, but it focuses on years before and after war in Ukraine, and it specifies several countries. So as we can see that the most notable changes are taking place in countries with, well, negative positions like Germany and Italy, and the opposition is, well, decreasing rapidly, while similar trends are taking place in countries that are on the way to phase out, Belgium, for instance, and Spain. And can we have the list? Okay, so specifically public opinion in Poland. So we've used the survey conducted by the Ministry of Climate and Environment of Poland in 2021, which has demonstrated a substantial support among Polish population. So 74% of Polish people have a positive answer to the question. So they support the construction of nuclear power plants in Poland. 78% believe that it is a way to fight climate change, and moreover, 82% believes that the construction of nuclear power plants contributes to the energy security of the country. So, and lastly, to have the bigger picture, I would like to look at the political party stances on this issue. So, because divisions are not only going across the publicity, they also go across the governmental groups, let's say, and they are not brand new because historically, liberals and center-right, far-right parties, they were more in favor of nuclear energy, while left and Greens, they were more skeptical and critical of it. But this is undeniable that parties are changing their opinions as they face new challenges. And I want to specifically talk about the Greens party. They have internal divisions. It doesn't really mean the complete change in the doctrine, but rather the question of how rapid should be the transition from the nuclear energy. So to substantiate that again, in Germany, Greens voted for the delay of the phase out. In Belgium, the energy minister, who is also a Green, voted, he supported the labeling of nuclear energy as a green, or in Finland, Greens voted in favor of labeling, and can we also follow the link to the website instead there? Because this graph provides a very good insight on the stance of political parties. That's all the way down there. And next one? Yeah, this one. As we can see, so basically all the countries to the extreme right are more supportive, and to the extreme left are more skeptical and critical of it. So we can see that basically all the EPP parties are located in the extreme right of the graph, well, except for the Austria and Luxembourg, those are two exceptions. All the Greens are in the left part of it. Also, we can see that one of the highest rates of support in Polish Party of Law and Justice, as well as EPP parties like Forza Italia, Moderate Party of Sweden, and the left party of Communist Party of Bohemia and Moravia. Yeah, so this is it on my part. Thank you.
Okay, hello, my name is Mateusz Radosz. I am also a fellow student of Warszawskiej University on International Relations. I'm also the president of the Energy Policy Club at our university. And right now, having looked upon the statistics, raw statistics, I would like to explore some reasons and perhaps look at some brief case studies, so to speak. So, first of all, to examine what shapes opinions, we need to know what the consumers, what the people actually desire when it comes to energy. And overwhelmingly, it's first of all cheap bills. 45% of people, it's nearly half of respondents say they want cheap bills. It's a very important factor. Continuous supply, so reliability. Environmental protection is also quite important, and of course health and energy independence. So, well, nuclear energy, first of all, obviously makes bills lower. It's much cheaper compared to, for example, coal. It's reliable when maintained properly. It guarantees energy independence. So, if those three concerns are met, well, let's say resolved, then where does the negative sentiment, so to speak, come from? So, next slide, please. Safety and waste management are the most prominent factors when it comes to the negative sentiment. Regardless if a country has operational reactors or not, almost every country is equally concerned about those two factors. If we could go to the next slide. So I looked at some individual countries and divided them into, let's say, pairs of higher and lower approval. And starting with Italy and Spain, as you can see, Europeans are very scared of incidents. And it's across Europe, but especially in Italy and Spain, it was incidents, mainly Fukushima and Chernobyl, obviously. The Italians decisively, twice in a row, rejected nuclear energy. First time, there's a mistake, I should have written 1987, but 2011 is already correct. So in 2011, 95% of respondents spoke out against nuclear energy. But Spain also shows that domestic incidents also fuel concerns and fear, because after the 2007 leak in the nuclear power plant, protests have broken out and support has fallen. Next slide, please. Yes, but there are cases where fear is outweighed by other factors. Perhaps fear of something else. As it appears, Poland, for instance, just 10 years ago, it was on the level of approval of Spain. It was a fairly anti-nuclear country, but the outbreak of the war in Ukraine significantly shifted the popular sentiment up to 70–80%, as my colleague mentioned. In Poland, it's basically two factors: energy independence and the energy transition to clean energy. Those two factors are shaping all of Poland's approval for nuclear energy, because Poland, as we know, heavily relies on coal, and some of our coal is also from imports, and our own coal that we're mining is slowly running out because it's deeper and deeper. It's not that profitable to mine. Therefore, if we're to rely on it, we'll have to import it, which means we're not independent energetically. And nuclear allows independence, which the Poles crave. France also values energy independence. Obviously, they have another situation because they have 56 reactors, so they already have it and they value it. But the stance on climate change, well, they see it as an invaluable asset. Essentially, some of the French see it as a necessary evil to combat climate change. So they're very much in favor of keeping and using the nuclear reactors. Yeah. And I've chosen two countries which are a little, let's say, ambiguous in their situation. Maybe not ambiguous as in more interesting, less one-dimensional. Because Germany, well, we know Germany phased out their nuclear reactors just last year, but it was actually a decision made by the Greens and SPD coalition in 2002 that put this plan in motion. It was, for example, the Greens in Germany have been historically very anti-nuclear, and again, Chernobyl has been a very decisive factor in taking this identity, the anti-nuclear identity of the Greens. And of course, after Schröder left office and Merkel took the position of Chancellor, there were plans to postpone the phase-out, but Fukushima happened and people got really scared. Once again, Europeans are really afraid of incidents, and the phase-out was, well, on schedule once again. But the ambiguity is that 60% of Germans disagree with that decision today. So there seems to be a discrepancy between what the government did, or still does, or rather, not anymore, but so to speak, still does, and what the people actually think. Right now, it seems more than half of Germans think they will use those nuclear reactors. About Sweden, Sweden is a peculiar case because among countries, especially countries that have operational reactors, they're the most pro-nuclear reactor in the public. The most pro-nuclear country when it comes to public support. Whether it boils down to the higher level of education or less safety concerns, that that remains to be, that's uncertain. But in my opinion, it's mostly because they do not face the problems other countries faced. First of all, nearly all of their energy, I would estimate around 99% of their energy comes from renewable, green, clean sources. So even if 30% comes from nuclear power, they don't have the problem of transitioning to a clean energy production. So climate change is solved. One of the biggest concerns is already solved. Secondly, they only have 3 power plants, which constitute 6 reactors. So even if something was meant to happen, it's much easier to have a backup plan or a substitute plan if something fails. When you have 6 reactors, it's much easier to replace 6 reactors than, for example, France's 56. So, and because we know that Sweden is actually exporting energy, independence and well, any safety concerns, so to speak, are essentially solved in Sweden. They don't have much to worry about when it comes to nuclear power. They're also storing their waste underground, which means they have solutions in place. So it seems they're a quite big outlier in the sense that they all have the problems other countries face. They just have them solved. Next slide, please. And lastly, just to finish off, I would like to talk about a possible breakthrough, very briefly, because my colleagues already said about 4th-gen reactors, but taking into account the needs and opinions of the public, and what we know about 4th-gen reactors, which means they're cheaper to operate, they're safer to operate, waste is more easily disposable, there's less of it, there are also more fuels, which means easier operation. It seems that all of Europeans' problems will be solved once 4th-gen reactors come into use. Can you next slide, please? And a survey in 2008 conducted by the European Commission already indicated that if problems with waste and safety were solved, there was a sustainable solution, which 4th-gen reactors seem to get closer to, they would be ready to completely change their stance on nuclear energy. So obviously, when it comes to public opinion and society in general, we have to be cautious when making arguments based on, let's say, the logical path. But I feel there seems to be reasonable, let's say, degree of, let's say, it seems to be reasonable to think that nuclear will basically return to the table as a very viable option for the people once new reactors come into play. So thank you for your attention from the conference.
Thank you so much.
Hello. So this is my first time speaking into microphone, so I would like to start. So my name is Christina. I'm also the student of Lazarski University in Warsaw, and I would like to discuss today the topic of external engagement in EU strategic infrastructure, geopolitical and security risks. And I prepared this presentation with another of my colleagues, but he was not able to come to be present with us. However, I would like to discuss today not only the nuclear power, but like the energy in total. So this is our agenda for today, and we will go through some main parts. So the current state of the EU energy, external engagement. I will talk about Russia and China, and geopolitical risks, and potential EU responses and mitigation strategies. So let's start with some statistics. And according to the European Union, the import dependency rate was over 60% in the year of 2022. And it illustrates the lack of self-sufficiency in terms of energy. And next one, please. So there are 4 horsemen of the apocalypses, in the context of European Union energy security. And I will explain this thing like in my last slide why I think so and what, in what context I mean the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So let's start from the natural gas, and the EU is highly dependent on gas imports, with 85% of its supply in 2023 has been imported from outside of the alliance. And until 2022, the major supplier was Russia, but due to the invasion of Ukraine, EU did some kind of great job by diversification of natural gas suppliers. And currently, there are two main other suppliers are Norway and the USA, and some other minor ones. They are like a few countries from OPEC organizations such as Qatar and so on. Secondly, EU's dependency on crude oil has been reached 97% in 2022. I should say that EU is heavily dependent on the oil as a whole, and dependent on the fossil fuels. And although it promotes the renewable resources, which we'll talk about later, however, as it was mentioned previously and during yesterday's panels, that we cannot get rid of fossil fuels, which is important to remember. However, we are heavily dependent. Furthermore, EU remains dependent on hard coal imports, which is over 70%. And as since this panel is about nuclear power, I would like to mention that the European Union has France as the biggest supplier. However, one of the main challenges is dependency on technology, uranium, and fuel supplies. So the next one, please. So now let's talk a little bit about some, partners in quotes of the European Union. So let's start with Russia. Well, I mean, for decades, Russia has been the domain player in the European Union energy market, providing European countries with a cheap and accessible gas, natural gas. And the EU, as I mentioned previously, the EU has imported around 40% of its total gas consumption from Russia. Some of them via the Nord Stream pipeline, and the invasion of Ukraine indeed leads some changes into the European Union policy towards gas suppliers, and is accelerating not only the diversification of gas suppliers but also of the energy mix. And since we are focusing on the nuclear power, I would like to draw your attention to the agreement recently signed between Hungary and Russia on the constructions of the PAX-2 nuclear power, this agreement is based on the aims to build two other new reactors on the already existed PAX nuclear power plant. In my opinion, nuclear energy is seen as a good alternative to the Russians. To the alternatives to the fossil fuels. However, the dependency on Russia and, as you can see, 80% financed by Russia, it calls into the question the energy dependency in terms of nuclear technology and financial debt. Hungary, and what is interesting in this case that Hungary has received approval from the European Commission to get the to sign up the contract with Russia, and in my opinion, it could mean that EU does not fully understand the threat from such a cooperation. Next one, China. Let's move to China. And Chinese agreement to the EU strategic infrastructure has also several geopolitical and security risks. First of all, and we have already mentioned this during our yesterday's panels, previous panels, that now China sees a good opportunity for their economic expansion in terms of renewable energy. And from solar panels to batteries of electric vehicles, from wind turbines to critical minerals, China has led a global renewable market. It may benefiting Europe to switch from Russia as a supplier. However, it makes another dependency on China. And I would say that it's already dependent on China because according to the European Commission, the EU imports 80% of Chinese solar panels and 98% of its rare earth elements that are used in wind power generation and hydrogen storage or batteries. Secondly, Russia is involved into the construction of Vasilica's LNG terminal in Cyprus. Firstly, the landscape is pretty similar to the one that we can observe in cooperation between Hungary and Russia in terms of financial assistance and constructions of the nuclear power, and what I want to pay attention on is that China has been market itself as a partner in such things like the European Public Prosecutor Office received the concerns about delays. So this LNG terminal is supposed to be built until 2019, and it's still ongoing, or even there is a question of closing this partnership. And increasingly cost, which means presence of corruption in these initiatives, and quality and safety of the project. So, next one. So, after introducing some major initiatives within the European Union, I would like to draw your attention to potential geopolitical risks that it may cause. So, first of all, political pressure. I think it's one of the major problems that European Union can face. First of all, I would like to mention that energy can be weaponization of energy. And this concept is well known since 1973, when the oil embargo happened due to by OPEC members in response to the Western support for Israel in Israeli-Arab war. And this practice was also used by Russia when it stopped some gas supply. There was some presence of gas supply disruptions due to the help of Ukraine, and Russia was threatening the European Union that they will freeze without the Russian gas. However, we are all here today. So another one is the threat to. The second one is the fragmentation of the European unity, and this is what we can, think is that there are some bilateral agreements to weakening Euro unity. As you can see, Hungary is cooperating with Russia, which is I would say that they don't the European Union, or there are some clashes between European Union, some countries, and Hungary. And also, yesterday, before going to bed, I read the news that Hungary approved or even signed the contract with Russia for importing its oil through the Ukraine. This dude is drives me crazy sometimes, because especially how European Union tries to disrupt this agreement, but nothing's changing. like they are continuing to cooperate and so on. China and EU cooperation, again, Serbia and Hungary cooperate with China beyond the European Union interests. Threat to international law, Energy Charter Treaty of interrupted energy flow and market stability, this is what Russia did. Countries that are heavily dependent might resist to follow the international law. And this is what I was like, it's beyond the European Union, but I would like to draw your attention to what did Mongolia recently. It rejected to arrest Putin, although Mongolia is the member of international court. So, you know, like I'm really afraid that this situation might appear in European Union as well. And threats to national security. Economic dependency, well, this is what we observed since 1973, price vulnerability and dependency, nuclear war threat, as my colleagues already mentioned, and sabotage of nuclear powers, and not only of this. And the last slide, EU responses and potential solutions. And this is what I wanted to discuss from my heart. So, as Ukrainian, I should say that you guys have right now opportunity to strengthen your energy security and protect this at all costs. And what you have to do is to diversify the energy mix and also pay attention to the domestic sources of energy. You have Cyprus, you have Baltic Sea, you can you have Spain, you have Portugal. Try to diversify as much as possible your energy mix. I know that you cannot substitute some fossil fuels with the renewable resources, but try to do your best. And control and invest into local initiatives. Be the owner of your house. Protect this at all costs. Don't pay attention to the invest into it. Don't waste money on something like that. So yeah, thank you.
My name is Alexander Zalech. I'm a student of the University of Łódź. Especially, so on July I graduated International Political Studies on English on July 2024. So I'm interested in the subject of European nuclear policy in the region of Central and Eastern Europe. And so, to be honest, you can turn off the presentation since I have 3 minutes left, and I just would like to. So, okay, but still, I had thought that the presentation will be held in Polish language. I'm having to do it right now in English, but okay, go on. As we know, Europe has a really bad situation right now. So first of all, most of the European states even didn't matter about any kind of desertification of energy share. The best example, of course, is the German government. That based only on gas line pipes, mostly from Russia. Even 55% share of gas control of the German import was from Russia. What's more, 25% of the German gas magazines belongs to Gazprom. So it shows us that the German diplomacy towards the Federation of Russia was really problematic. So as we know, everything had started, to be honest, in 2002. everything started 22 years ago when the German Parliament opened its lower chamber, Bundestag, and Gerhard Schröder, as a Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, invited Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin underlined especially the need to establish close cooperation in gas line pipes between Germany and Russia. And the situation turned around in 2021 when the gas line pipes, natural gas prices went up at the end of the 2021, and there we can see more about the energy crisis of 2022. Going on, we have the second really important feature and reason of the energy crisis, which is lack of good gas line pipes communication, for instance, between Spain and France. So these two states were not able to sign any agreement in terms of energy diplomacy. So it also had a huge it was also important to further situation. So the US really strong involvement in European nuclear, not only nuclear, gas affairs was really important, just to sign some agreements with Qatar and Azerbaijan. And from this time, from February, the beginning of February 2022, we can say more and more about the beginning of Qatari and Azerbaijan superior in this field. So, and as we know, the Nord Stream 2 was destroyed on September 2022, and there we can say more about the collapse of Russian strategy in gas line system. We have also another aspect of nuclear energy. Emmanuel Macron, as the president of France, tried to introduce the nuclear strategy in the European Union. Initially, the European Commission was against it, so we can even find it in some programs such as Fit for 55, European Green Deal, which superior renewable source of energy over nuclear ones. As the previous speaker said, it was really also important to do some social changes. Most of Belgian society started being for nuclear energy, and as we know, the Belgian government was about to close the last nuclear power station, but due to the energy crisis, it was postponed. If I remember, for several months. Okay, so there we have also another aspect. In 1 year later, in 2023, some some prime ministers of European governments and Joe Biden had a joint meeting on energy crisis and on the war on Ukraine. And there, one of the most important aspects was organizing the forum of small modular reactors and how to introduce this technology in Europe by the European Union institutions. So going on. The most important aspect in that long-term process was the declaration of the European Commission on February 2024 to back up by the small nuclear power stations and by the initiative of the Orlen Group and Orlen Synthos Green Energy company. They propose to create a summer industrial alliance. And on March, the authorities of mentioned on the presentation states signed the declaration on increasing the power from the nuclear power station 3 times till 2050. So. To not get more into details, I would like to present the perspective of Czechia, which is a model state for other European Union countries, such as Poland. So they take up the decision just to rebuild four nuclear stations and 4 blocks. I'm sorry, into nuclear power stations by the South Korean and French companies. So the Czech Republic government take up the decision to do it by KHNP. It's the South Korean energy company, and due to the fact the European Commission accepted its proposal to buy 4 blocks, and also European Union lent 7 billions, over 7 billions euro for 30 years, and this idea based on the CFD idea. What's the most important aspect of this idea? If market energy prices exceed a certain ceiling, the investor will be obliged to return the excess profits to state. And also it was also undertaken by the Swedish government. I'm going more. Yes, I'm going to speak up more about this state. But what's the meaning in case of the diplomacy? So first of all, Czechia, as I said, is a role model state for other European Union countries, and that's why others had to strengthen their relation with Czechia. And going on, we have also another aspect of the French-Czechia relations, because of the military agreement undertaken in the background, strictly connected with the agreement on supplying the Czech Air Force. The military cooperation was signed for 10 years. And the last one is Sweden. So at first I don't agree with my friend who say that Sweden has really good and short pro-nuclear traditions, since Sweden rejected this strategic idea in the 90s. They went back to this one 2 years ago, when the Swedish government has changed, and the Sweden authorities, which consist of Sweden Democrats, signed some new deals to build new energy nuclear blocks and power stations. At first, they changed its own law acts enacted by the Riksdag on building new power stations. Okay. So to sum up, we can assume that the European Union has changed its mind on nuclear power stations. So they also must have faced with the consequences of the war on Ukraine, and that's why they adopted some ideas to build more and more SMRs, small nuclear power stations in Europe. So we'll see in the next several years what will be with that. So, for instance, we don't know the situation in Poland, how it will go on. So as we know, some representatives of the Polish government changed the location of the power station. And so that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you today for the interesting discussion about the military aspect, political, terrorist attack, pan-European initiatives, public opinion, and geopolitical risk. So in the end, we have a special information. Not I, but the opinion choose the winner of the speakers. So please, who will be? Mateusz Radosz. You are the best speakers.
Sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Students, and congratulations for today, because I know that was for you the first, most of you, it was the first, this kind of, first discussion, this kind of way. So thank you, you were all the winners for me. So thank you, maybe we will see in the next year. Thank you so much.